good evening, and welcome to Tea Time.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tea Time. I'm so glad you're joining me tonight. It is my Valentine's Day show, and I love a lot of people. So when I say I love you, I mean I love you. Doesn't mean I'm in love with you necessarily, but I love you. And it's my Valentine's Day show, and I'm going to talk about my weekend real quick and get to my in-studio guest, so I'm so excited. So Friday, I just stayed home. I was learning lines because I have a few things coming up. I was supposed to film tomorrow in Jersey, but because of the pending snowstorm, it got canceled and it moved to Wednesday. Saturday night, I went to go see my friend Al Sapienza with his friend Deborah Renard at the cutting room. There they are. I couldn't get a great pic. I was sitting on the side, and there they are. It was a wonderful show, and then I got to see Al after the show. There we are, and it was great. I was so glad that I went, and I had a great time. And then yesterday was the Super Bowl. Went to my sister's house in Dix Hills, and had a really good time. Congratulations to the winner, and I'm sorry for the losers. What are you going to do? There's always next year. All right, listen, real quick. It's Love Bro is going to be shown the day before Valentine's and the day after Valentine's at the Sayville Theater. So if you're around, come see it. It's a romantic comedy. It's a lot of fun. That's a pick of Frank Fiala and I. We play the mom and dad, so I hope you could come out and see that. And then me and my nuts are playing at the Cinema on the Sound on the 24th of this month. So that is a hysterical sitcom. It's the pilot. So if you want to come see it, please come down and see it. I'll put everything on my Facebook page for you to come get tickets and come see it. All right. Thank you very, very much. So let me get to my guest because I'm very excited. He's here. We met years ago, and he actually did my show about 5 years ago. God, it's been this long. Wow. He's a director, he's a writer, he's a producer. Jerry Landi.
Hi, great to be here, Theresa.
How are you? Thank you for taking the ride from the Boogie Down Bronx.
I know, it's a long trip from the Bronx, man. It's like another country here. Every time I go to Long Island, I'm always worried about the traffic. It's like the traffic. I have family out here. I haven't seen it 20 years because I don't want to deal with the traffic. So, but for you, I came out.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Oh, there's so much to get to. I'm so excited you're here. A lot's been going on, since, we first met
at the screening of Bat Radicus.
Yes, at Bat Radicus, which we're going to talk about. But I want everyone to get to know you. Born and raised in the Bronx.
I was born in Brooklyn.
And then,
moved to the Bronx when I was 7.
Right, and then stayed.
Stayed, yeah. It's
Never
very
left.
Bronx-centric.
Now, let me ask you a question because, you're a director, you're a writer, you're a producer. But what I want to know is, was that always a passion of yours, Jerry? Like, especially when you were a kid in school, or were you into sports, or were you into the arts, like, from the very beginning?
I was into sports. As far as the arts, I loved movies. I mean, I liked old movies, but I loved horror movies.
Yeah.
And when I was, it must have been 1970, so I was probably about 8 years old. The story goes is that we were being real bad, and we were dragged. My mother said, take them, and took us to see Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, wow.
And I remember being so scared, like I've never been that scared before. And when we went home that night, my father put on glow-in-the-dark makeup and climbed in our window, and I ran screaming from the bed. But I realized that I liked being scared.
Okay.
That being scared was pretty cool. So I gravitated towards horror movies. So
That's your wheelhouse.
My wheelhouse is horror movies. I like doing documentaries because I like reality and I like if I find a cool subject, I'll do a reality, a documentary on it.
Right.
But horror movies is my wheelhouse, and I'm known as the horror guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I just was offered a directing job from a director. And I go, why aren't you directing the movie? He goes, but you're the horror guy. I go, but you could do it. He goes, not as good as you. I go, I don't think I do it that well. I said, I think if you really love something, you're good at it, and that's what it is. I love horror movies, so when I make a horror movie, I really get into it.
So that was your very, very first horror movie you ever saw?
That I ever saw, and then after that, the funny thing was when I went to School of Visual Arts, George Romero came, and I was the president of his fan club at that time, and he came into the school and he taught a class, and I went up to him, we started talking, and he goes, would you want to come down and be a zombie in Day of the Dead? So I was like, are you kidding me? So it was funny because when we met Chad Coleman.
Yes,
right?
yes. Chad L. Coleman.
Chad Coleman was on The Walking Dead.
Yes.
And I was on the set of The Day of the Dead with Greg Nicotero, who was doing special effects with Tom Savini. So we hung out with them for the whole weekend. We were all like the same age.
Yeah.
So we were drinking with them, partying with them, everything. So when I met Chad Coleman, who, if you don't know who Chad Coleman is, I'm sorry, he's a genius.
He's great.
Great actor.
He's on Lois, Superman.
He was in. He was in The Expanse. He's
in everything.
He's in everything.
Yeah.
The Orville. Yeah. So as you know, you were there when I first met him.
Yes.
And I lost my mind.
You did.
They were interviewing me about my documentary, and I was like, screw that. Chad Coleman's here. So because I'm a fanboy, I can't help it.
Yeah.
So I went over and I started talking to Chad, and then all of a sudden the conversation got to, I know Greg Nicotero. So he goes, wait a minute. You were those guys from the Bronx.
See?
So I go, what do you mean? He goes, Greg Nicotero talks about you guys.
Wow.
Berger, all those guys who did KMB, wound up doing all the special effects, they were all young guys like us. We were hanging out with them, partying with them over the weekend. So they were like, we remember those guys. Those guys were cool. So right then and there, Chad Coleman's giving me his phone number. He goes, oh, you must be.
He's the sweetest.
He's the sweetest guy in the world.
Yeah. Seriously, I love you, Chad, and I miss you. Hopefully, when you're in New York, I'll have him back. But he was so nice to invite us, and he's like,
we went to the screening. Yeah, we went down to the screening. You invited me. We went to go see.
It was great.
And it was great because he was there with actors from The Wire and The Deuce, who I have connections with both of those shows.
Right.
And it was like I was like, oh my God, this is like I worked with the first AD. The first AD actually worked. You met him the other night. He was working on my film.
Yes.
He's a big TV guy. He does Spider-Man movies, everything. But he's a friend of mine, and I go, I could use a little help. So I go, yeah, sure, well, I'll come and help. And so that whole story was so funny. And it was great because I'm a horror guy. So,
I know
you got to play a zombie.
You love horror, but you know what I read about you, which I find I knew, but I have found interesting. You actually, we need real jobs, so to speak, to pay the bills when we're not working, and you were a medical photographer.
Yes.
For many years.
20 years.
How did you get into that? How did that happen?
I was a photographer from 7. I had my own darkroom when I was a kid. So I was always a photographer, and I was always the guy that had the camera and took pictures in the neighborhood. I was looking for a job. It was so funny. I was getting married. It was my first engagement. And I had my own photography business.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest jobs I did was I worked for lawyers following people who were trying to cheat the system.
Right.
So the guy who said he can't work because he can't lift was lifting bricks, and I would get pictures of him, and I would get paid.
Right.
And so my fiance at the time says, you need a real job. So there was a job opening at Einstein for a medical photographer. So I went up for the job, and the guy goes, I got my portfolio. He goes, yeah, you ever done medical stuff?
Yeah.
So I go, well, what's the difference between this and that? He goes, well, you're in an autopsy suite with dead bodies, or you're in an operating room with bodies.
Right.
So you have to have a strong stomach.
Yeah.
What they did, trial by
Did
fire.
you tell them, listen, I'm into horror movies. This is
no. I don't want to really expose too much of myself. I was mostly listening because I was curious about what the job entailed.
Right.
And the first job I did was, I think it was the first one at Montefiore, was a male to female sex change operation. Now, I'm very sensitive when it comes to certain parts of your body, so it was very hard for me not to clutch things while they were cutting.
Right.
But after that, they were going, they go, how'd you feel about that? I go, it was really interesting. They go, okay, you got the job.
Oh,
so
okay.
I went from doing that and doing autopsies and stuff like that.
Because you also worked for the medical examiner's office.
New York City medical examiner's office,
Yeah.
So
I'm sure you've photographed a lot of different things through the years.
Yes.
Oof. Okay.
Yes, yeah. I
And
can't
you're
talk
right,
about
you have
most
to-
of it, but
you have to have a strong stomach for something like that.
yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to see a dead body in a movie.
Well, they're not really dead.
Or blood and
It's a-
gore.
it's a guy on the
but
floor
that's-
who's
but
trying
that-
not
but
to
that- but
breathe.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's one thing to see like special effects, but
Yeah.
when you know it's in front of you and it's real, and that
it's- and-
person's
and-
not going to be sitting up anytime soon talking to you
Hope
and having
not.
a
I mean,
conversation.
I mean, I would lose it if somebody just got up and I would just. No, I'm a big wuss.
But
too.
I
I like
did
horror
hear,
movies, but
I have heard, not to get morbid or anything, but I have heard that once a person passes, their body can still move for a time.
some things happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
there have been things, but it's like floaters are the worst. They were the worst for me, floaters.
Okay.
Because they smell.
Okay.
And when they cut them open,
Yeah,
it's disgusting.
Well, the body expands in water.
Well,
I
yeah,
heard
yeah. Well,
it's
it's
not a
funny.
fun thing.
I worked on a treatment for a TV series, and it takes place in the 20s. And what they do is they dump the bodies in the winter because they stay at the bottom.
Right,
Right. But
right.
then when it gets hot, the gas expands in their stomach and they float.
Right,
Floaters.
right,
So
right.
the opening scene of my movie is like a bunch of kids are fishing and his body floats up. They go, spring in New York.
But that's what I was going to say, is that because you've had so much experience, you can incorporate these fun facts. I don't know what you'd call them, but these details
Dinner conversation.
these into your movies and
Yeah.
make them authentic.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and this is what's so funny about it. In the movies, I like to see blood squirrel over the floor, hit the ceiling, hit people in the face. It never works out that way.
Right.
And if you talk to these people, like, you talk to experts, they'll tell you about splatter and stuff. And I had I had a technical advisor.
Okay.
I got rid of him. I was like, well, if I cut this, what happens? Well, the blood will trickle out. I go, no, I need the blood to shoot out. He goes, it
Right.
doesn't work that way. I go,
Right,
fired.
right. Yeah.
Nothing is, I mean, if you really, even if you watch these shows like CSI New York and everything, it's just not real.
Right,
It's just
right.
not real.
It's
Like
not-
they don't get tox screens like within 10 minutes. It takes months sometimes, So, but it's.
I get it.
It's a funny part that I wound up doing that.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Doesn't it bother you?" I go, "No, it doesn't really." I've had 2 times where people came in that I knew.
Oh.
One of them was an ex-girlfriend.
Oh, that's rough.
And I went up and I said, I can't be here today.
Yeah.
I got to leave. I
Yeah.
don't want to see this.
Yeah, no.
And they're very cool about that.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
no, just.
Wow, it's amazing. So you stopped doing that, though. You stopped that a while ago.
I retired
right?
to
You
raise my
retired.
daughter.
Yes, yes.
I became a stay-at-home dad.
You did,
Yeah.
and you did an
Which was
excellent
a lot
job.
of fun. Yeah, she's a good
kid.
She's not the serial killer everybody thought she was going to be. She's actually studying psychiatry now, which may be because
Oh my
I raised
gosh.
her. She's going to be a psych. I think she
Oh.
wants to figure out what was going on inside my head all those years.
Maybe.
But she was like, she would come to me movie sets. She would help me with special effects.
Yeah.
She even made
She
for
was
crack
into
coon.
it.
She made crack for me, like fake crack. Somebody
that's
goes,
so
"What'd you do
funny.
today?" I go, "My dad and I made fake crack with raccoon." So, and now she did theater, and she does acting, and she's been in a bunch of my movies.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's just a really good kid.
Yeah, she is. She's a good kid.
I got to be honest with you. I was really scared about raising a kid, but it was probably the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Because she's just a perfect kid for me,
Yeah.
and she's like we hang out. We're
Yeah,
like friends.
I
We talk-
know,
Yeah, so
I know.
It's good.
I know.
And she's smart, which is always good. Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about your very, very, very first film from 2007 was Silent Deafening.
Yes.
And I think we have a poster for that, Silent Deafening. Yep, there it is. Now, you can leave that up for a second. So basically, this was a doc.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about it.
I was at a funeral for a Vietnam veteran, and I was during the ceremony. This guy came out with a bugle, and all of a sudden the bugle stopped working.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like, well, how does a guy
Thank you.
like? Does the guy stop? Did he lose his breath?
Yeah.
It just stopped.
Yeah.
So I thought that was weird. So afterward, we all went to the dinner after the funeral.
Right.
And I go, what was that all about? I go, that's an electronic bugle. I go, an electronic bugle? They go, yeah. And they were all pissed off about it. And it says, when you die, when you're a veteran, they guarantee you a military funeral with a live bugler and a,
Yes.
So they go, this is not right. So I'm like, I was actually looking for a project at that point.
Okay.
I had Crackoon, the script, but everybody I went to said, you're insane. Nobody's going to do this. So I put it on the back burner.
Right.
And I said, let me make this documentary because at least it'll help the process.
Right.
But the buglers across America who I worked for, they totally screwed me over because at the end of the movie, when the guy is doing, now think about this as a filmmaker, the guy who you're doing a documentary about, who does live bugling, lost his friend and was playing live at his funeral.
Right.
I got to film it. So to a filmmaker, that's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But when he did it, he cracked at the end, which another thing, as a filmmaker, that's what you want to see. That's real emotion. That's not
exactly,
that's not acting. That's,
exactly.
You know.
It's authentic.
So this corporation, Bugles Across America, who I was trying to give this film to enhance this cause, said we can't endorse your film because he didn't play perfect taps.
What?
So I go. I'm a filmmaker.
That's sucky.
So and then I had problems with somebody else I worked with in that movie. They wanted to come after me because the movie didn't make money. I go, it's a documentary. It's not going to make money. It showed at the New York Film Festival. Be excited that you got that.
Right.
You know, as filmmakers, I make films, one hits, a bunch of them sit in the corner.
Right.
Be lucky that you got it made.
Yes.
But people don't look at it that way. They're already buying a house in Connecticut, and I'm like, no, maybe you can get a good dinner at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh my God, that's great.
Let's be realistic about this.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have to say, I love the original song. It was an original song.
When I heard this song for the first time, that's what inspired me to make the movie. Oh no, listen, I can't show that movie anymore or anything.
Yeah,
it's kind of one of those things that
right.
I don't want issues with,
I get it.
my partner
I
at the
get
time,
it,
and that's when I stopped having partners in films.
Yeah, that's it. It's done. One and done.
I don't want anybody telling me what to do. Nobody tells me what to do, especially when it's the creative process. You can't tell me what's going on inside my head, and you may ask, but I'll never be able to explain it to you. Just go for the ride and trust me.
Right.
People aren't like that.
Yeah. I trust you.
I know you do. I trust you.
We're going to talk about that later.
I had a room full of guys that were enamored with her, so forget about it.
All right, listen, we're going to take my first commercial break, but don't go away. There's so much more to talk about with Jerry. Don't go away. We'll be back after this.
Wonder Woman was everything to little girls, especially that look like me. She stands for being a voice for people that need a voice. My organization renovates homes for people with disabilities. And when I come home, a self-care routine makes me feel my best. I'm very proud of the difference that we're making, and to see that impact in my community inspires me to work even harder for everyone around me.
Every day, millions of people go to work completely oblivious to their coworkers' double life. By night, they hit the stage hoping to become the next comedy superstar.
Bringing laughter to the world is very important.
All right. Is everybody having a good time tonight or what? That's what I thought.
Well, hi there, Theresa. It's John York from General Hospital. I am just checking in because apparently you have a great talk show called Tea Time on Strong Island TV. I want you to have continued great success and have a lot of fun. It sounds like you're having a lot of fun, and that's pretty much the key to everything, isn't it? So continued success. I'm proud of you. Have a great day, Theresa. Bye.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Tea Time. Some shout outs to Ann and Michael Norton and Bruno and my friend Big D and oh my God, everyone watching. Thank you for watching the show. Thank you for supporting me. I appreciate it. I'm here with Jerry Landi. He's a director. He's a writer. He's a producer. I've had the lovely pleasure of working with him. We're going to talk about that. But I just want to go through some of his movies. Like he said, he does horror flicks. This is what he's known for. And it's so funny because before that movie with Cocaine Bear, right? Before Cocaine Bear ever came out, right? Is that the name of it?
Cocaine Bear, yeah.
He did Crack Coon.
And there's somebody out there who ripped me off, and my lawyers are going after you.
There it is.
There's a
Crack-coon.
There's
So
another
it's
Crack-coon.
it's a raccoon on crack who terrorizes the.
It's a very socially. It's,
And I love it.
It's a socially.
And then after that, you came back with a Blood Mask.
Blood Marsh.
Blood Marsh Raccoon. There it
There's
is.
two of them.
And then you wrote both of them.
Yes.
You wrote both of
write
them.
I write everything.
Well, and you direct everything too.
Yeah.
And then after that was you did a little acting. I don't have a poster for this, so don't go nuts looking for it. But you did a little acting yourself. You did something in 2015 called The Fappening.
It's a porno movie.
Okay.
Well, okay, it's not a porno movie. My daughter says it's a porno movie. But what happened was I was working with this.
Did you do any nudity?
No.
You didn't do
I
any
shot
nudity
a lot of
yourself.
nudity.
You did. Okay.
I saw so many naked women that it just became like, oh, another nude woman. Oh. And it was, I worked with this other director.
Oh my God,
it's a
it's
movie
so
I don't really
funny.
talk about, but it's kind of fun.
It is fun.
It's fun. I worked with him on it because he was working with my Bill Cosby film.
Yes.
And another movie, so we were working together.
Right.
The year I worked with him, I could write a book
I just got a kick out of it that you actually acted in this
I
film.
can't act.
I'm
a horrible actor.
No, I don't think so.
No,
because the thing is, Jerry, the scene that I saw, okay, you're yourself.
Well, yeah,
And
that's
again,
not acting. That's just being an idiot.
But acting is reacting, and that's what you did.
Well, it was really funny because a friend of mine, Skip Shea, came to the Bronx. He wanted to shoot my dinner. He wanted me to play a part in the movie.
Right.
And I go, well, why do you guys want to put me in a movie?
Right.
Everybody wants to put me in a movie. I go, I don't want to act. I want to be on the other side.
But let me ask you a question. Do you ever do like Hitchcock or like
Oh,
where you put yourself
okay,
in
okay.
the
So,
behind the
For
scenes
example,
somewhere
there's
and they go.
There's a new movie coming out. I'm going to push it right now. It's called Bronx Lore.
Okay.
And it's all short stories that take place in the Bronx. I do play a Rod Serling character where I introduce all of the stories.
Okay. You're
And
narrating.
narrated. I
Yeah.
did that. But that's, when I first started this, I love to talk. I like telling stories and stuff. But talking in front of people was always freaky for me. I had to learn how to do that.
Right.
Because I would get nervous. And if you look at early shows, my knees are shaking. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really trying to keep it. And then I realized, like somebody said, well, if you just be yourself.
That's it.
Just do that.
That's
Just the guy that we talk to here and the
That's
guy that
it.
we hang out in the bar with,
Yeah.
that's the guy you should be.
That's it. That's
so
it.
that's what I do in
well,
the movies.
I liked your scene. I liked your scene. I saw your scene. I liked it.
Whatever.
Next, we have Vault of Terror 2.
Which is an anthology film, which I worked with Sean, and the Fappening came out of this movie. The wraparound.
There
was
it is. Look at that.
The wraparound for this movie was just supposed to be a wraparound. He was filming this porno movie because he was actually having sex with the woman on set. And I didn't know it.
Oh,
I didn't know it until
okay.
it happened. I'm not
Right,
that
right,
dumb.
right.
But he all of a sudden I go, whoa! Nobody told me about this.
Right.
So I pulled him in the room and I said, "What are we doing?" He goes, some of it's gonna be real. I go, dude.
Wow.
Yeah. I lost the sound man. He ran. He got scared. He was like, so I was shooting and I had to use a C-stand. The sound man goes, I
Oh
can't
my
take
God.
this because there were naked women coming in all day.
Yeah.
And it was like, he interviewed him, he'd have sex with him, and then he'd kill them.
Oh my God.
And that was all. That was for weeks.
Wow.
And we
That's
were shooting
crazy.
in Brooklyn. Two
Yeah.
cops were killed.
Yeah.
And we're running around the street with fake gun and fake cocaine, and helicopters are flying over.
Oh my
us. And what
God.
are you doing? He goes, "You're never gonna get this again. Shoot the helicopters." So yeah, my year working with him was.
Oh my God.
We almost
that's
got arrested
crazy.
a couple of times.
Wow.
But
That's exciting.
Always
Next is Bill Huxtable. Now, this is a serial rapist that you wrote, and it was kind of like based
on the Bill Cosby scandal.
Right.
And Bill Cosby came after us, and then he went to jail. and then when he came out of jail, I tried to friend him, and he blocked me. We showed it the other night.
Oh my God.
To raise some money for something.
Yeah.
And I had a full house.
Right.
And it's really funny because people don't want to say they like this movie until they
Right.
get you alone.
Right.
Like
Then they'll admit it.
I was at a party and they were going, Uncle Leo, Jerry made this movie about Bill Cosby. There's all naked women chained up to walls and stuff. And he's going, that's disgusting. I don't believe that. You're terribly berating me. And I'm like, so as we're walking back to our cabin at the Jersey Shore, he goes, you have a copy of that movie? I go, what? And that's one of it's a guilty pleasure movie. I made it because I wanted to disturb people.
Right,
And
right.
it disturbed a bunch of people
Well,
the other night.
then you did your job.
I did my job.
All right, next is Bronx Bigfoot.
I love Bigfoot, and the Bronx
love
has
it.
its own Bigfoot now.
There you
And I
go.
played a Bigfoot in it. I actually acted in that movie.
Did you?
I played the gangster who becomes the Bigfoot.
Okay.
And I get to have a sex scene with this very well-endowed woman. So I go, I want to play that part. And
I'm casting myself.
I'm casting myself in that part. And they go, oh, I go, no. They go, you don't want to act. I go, no, I want to act in this. But I actually become the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So I'm the gangster who cheats on the Don's wife, and they throw me on an island, and I dump in a vat of radioactive
That's
waste,
hysterical.
and I crawl out of Bigfoot.
That's
it's
hysterical.
a fun
Shout
movie.
out, George Buzzio's watching, and George showed a film at his theater, Kahana.
oh my- what
How great was that movie?
I'm showing it again because it was like a really freezing cold night,
Yeah.
and we had a couple of people, people that
Right.
were, but
You want to get more people to come in, and let me tell you something. When they do show it again, I want everyone to go see it. It's an amazing.
it's one of the best
amazing.
documentaries.
See? Amazing.
I'm looking at this guy. He was in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like,
It's
wow, like
crazy.
one of my favorite movies.
I know. All right, let's get back to you. Second Skin, which was a short.
A minute short. It was
minute
like a
short.
minute film challenge.
Yeah. No, I like those minute film challenges. They're really cool. You know, they make your juices flow and they get
And that's
you
my
thinking.
daughter over there.
I love it.
I use my daughter.
After that one, you have Hablar con los muertos,
Which
means talking with the dead. And tell me about that one, because you wrote that also.
I was challenged to write a movie with no cursing, no violence, no sex.
And you were able to do it.
And I was able to do it.
Woohoo!
But what happened was the guy who wanted to give me the money for it told me this movie is too personal.
Really?
Because it's a very personal movie, for reasons I don't want to talk about now.
Okay.
But the movie is so personal that another filmmaker saw it and kind of understood what I was doing, and we become friends because of it.
Okay.
So it was one of these real beautiful movies. It won Best Actor, Best Screenplay. I mean, it was a really good movie. But you know, people expect to see crazy stuff with me.
Yeah.
So when they saw this movie, like I got a new audience with the movies, but my hardcore fans were like,
Where'd this come from?
well, I love it. It had a lot to do when I was going to therapy years ago. My therapist is in it, and I showed it to my therapist, and my therapist goes, he's better looking than me. I go, yeah, well, I had to cast a younger man.
Oh my God, that's great. Okay, so let's talk about Bat Radicus. Now, Bat Radicus is a film that you did, and Pepe Cardona, our beautiful friend, was in it. We have a picture of me and Pepe and him holding his head, because there it is. That was at the screening, and loved it. He wanted to play the head zombie.
Well, he knew about my experience with The Walking Dead. He was a big fan of The Walking Dead.
There's the head.
And when I wrote the script, there was a lead zombie.
Yeah.
And Pepe goes, I always want to play zombie. I go,
Right.
well, you know, and he's, if you don't know who Pepe is, he did
Pepe Cardona was
Tighter and Tighter.
right. The
which-
song Tighter and Tighter with Alive and Kicking.
Alive and Kicking. So in the movie, his name was Dead and Kicking. That's what we called him in the movie. And there's a great outtake of Pepe while we're shooting the movie. He's there with his iPad shooting us. And
Right.
it got it, and I'm going, Pepe, and I'm yelling at him.
Right.
But Bat Radicus is funny because it happened right before the pandemic.
Yes.
And the concept is a bat causes a virus that turns people into zombies.
Yes.
So
It was great.
So when
I loved
the
it.
movie went up, the movie's on Amazon now if you want to see it.
Yeah, watch it on Amazon.
Watch it on Amazon. And it's a really great movie because it's all about what would happen if a zombie apocalypse hit the Bronx.
Right.
And the basic concept is everybody's pissed off that it's aggravating their weekends. So nobody's really taking it seriously. They're like, these zombies, I have birthday parties, I have things to go to. But it's all these different groups of Bronxites and how they deal with this thing. My horror movies are kind of black comedies. They're funny. I like to laugh.
Yeah.
So when I make horror movies...
Crackoon and they're comedy horror.
Horror comedies.
Yeah.
Somebody once at a screening put a note in my pocket and ran away, which I thought was really weird. And then I looked at it, he goes, there's no such thing as a horror comedy. And I'm like,
Yes,
what are you
there
talking
is.
about?
Yes, there is.
I'm a film historian.
Yes.
I can name thousands of them.
Of course there are.
Night of the Creeps is probably the greatest one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So after that, you did Reed Unbound. That's the Joel M. Reed story.
Yeah,
Is that right?
he did Blood-Sucking Freaks.
Yes.
People know about that movie. It's an
Yeah,
infamous-
that's like a cult film.
Well,
also.
Cosby, the Cosby movie was basically a ripoff of that movie, and then
Okay.
he called me out for it. But I said, I told you I ripped you off. And before he died, in my documentary, he says, that Jerry Landi, he ripped me off with this movie. And I go, but I told you I ripped you off. I mean, when I met you, I said, I'm letting
you know in advance.
I'm letting you know I'm ripping you off. I had a
Yeah.
relationship with him.
Right.
It's really funny that as a filmmaker, you meet your idols and then you become friends with them.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then you realize, oh my God, these people are flawed. And then
Right.
I said, I'm going to do a documentary on you.
Yeah.
And then I got chased by the Russian mob and a Russian dominatrix after this movie. I had to get off Facebook and some social media because of it. It's a
Holy
whole,
cannoli.
If you watch the documentary, I talk about it.
Wow.
Yeah. I had the mafia, the Russian mob. looking
After
at-
you. Madonna me.
It's all right.
Wow, well, at least you're here. All right, listen, we gotta take my second break, but please stay where you are. There's so much more to talk about with Jerry. We'll be back after this.
Wonder Woman was everything to little girls, especially that look like me. She stands for being a voice for people that need a voice. My organization renovates homes for people with disabilities. And when I come home, a self-care routine makes me feel my best. I'm very proud of the difference that we're making, and to see that impact in my community inspires me to work even harder for everyone around me.
Every day, millions of people go to work completely oblivious to their coworkers' double life. By night, they hit the stage, hoping to become the next comedy superstar.
Bringing laughter to the world is very important.
Hi, I'm Georgia Rose, founder of Zenkuda. You can watch me on the Soul Space podcast every Friday at noon on Channel 20 for spiritual guidance. And as you all know, that is how I first opened into my own psychic gifts, was through the angelic realm, astrology. So we've got Mars and the Sun together in Scorpio, which creates a lot of combustion. In the astrological world, we call that a kazemi, and tarot. With the Four of Cups right side up, it means we have a lot of choices to make, and we're not looking at what's really being divinely given to us. We're too busy in the busyness of the choices to really see the divine intervention, the divine timing, and the divine guidance. We're the place. Watch the Soul Space podcast.
How you doing? It's Sal the Voice Valentinetti. Why are you watching me? You should be watching Theresa Canastraci Tea Time with Theresa Canastraci Farrell. And make sure you follow Theresa on Facebook. Tea Time with Theresa Canastraci Farrell. We'll see you there.
I love the way you say my name. I love.
Carry the
We're
Candace
coming
Tracy.
back. Yeah. Hey, everybody, we're back. And I'm with Jerry Landi. He's a writer, he's a producer, he's a director, and I've had the great pleasure of working with him. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but before we do, I want to talk about Devil Among Angels.
Devils
Among Angels, which this is when you and I reconnected at Deborah Markowitz's film festival. This is a documentary you hold very near and dear to your heart. It's about a Holocaust survivor who's a professional musician, and I kind of was a little shocked because I thought, oh, Jerry's here. You know, I'm probably going to see
Who am I killing?
a horror flick, and instead it was this beautiful, touching, moving movie about this beautiful gentleman. Just tell everybody a little bit about it.
The funny story about it was I went to a film festival with 2 films that year.
Yes.
One of them was this, and the other one was Shriek of the Woodlouse,
Yes.
which is about a giant pill bug that destroys the Bronx. So the guy who runs the film festival saw Devils Among Angels and cried. Like the audience cried.
Yeah, no, it's such a touching, moving doc.
I was with one of my filmmaker friends who goes, "Did you give this to me at your festival?" I go, "Yeah," and he goes, "I'm bawling my eyes out." He goes, "I'm crying." So I was like,
Yeah.
"Good, okay, got it."
Yeah.
So the guy who was introduced, and then we did Shriek of the Woodlouse, and he goes, "I just want to say something." He goes, "The other day Jerry had me crying over a Holocaust film." I go, "And today he's got me laughing about a giant pill bug eating people in the Bronx."
So funny.
Devils Among Angels. I went to my daughter's school. Since I was the video guy, anytime they wanted something recorded or videotape, they would ask me. And I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
So this guy came in, and I was moved by what he did, what he said. His story was moving. He talked to kids in school. He talks about tolerance.
Right.
Samuel Marty. He doesn't talk about what happened to him in the concentration camps. He tells stories about the people of the time to show you that there was a whole generation of people that were lost.
Right.
And he's telling their stories. So he came up to me and he goes, "You're a video guy," with a very strong Russian accent.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah," he goes, "My wife just died, and there was a video. She was a pianist, and he was a violinist." And he goes, "They put her maiden name on the video, and it drove her crazy. Would you be able to take that out?" I go. Meanwhile, he had all these tapes. I had to put this thing together. Right before I left, he gave me a book, and he said, "Read this," and it was his book. I got to tell you something. I read the book, and I immediately went to the bar and started drinking whiskey.
Wow.
Because I think we're going through this stuff again now.
Yeah.
Like I see anti-Semitism on the rise, and I see hate on the rise. And this
Yeah.
guy is preaching tolerance.
Yeah.
He's like, preach love instead of hate.
Right.
So I read the book, and I go, can I get you on film? Like, can I do a documentary? And he
Yeah.
goes, only if you take the money. I go, I don't want the money. I want to use it as a tool for you. So when you go to the schools and talk, you could show the movie.
Right.
And you could get up and ask questions. Because he was old. If you see the footage at the end, he's shaking.
Yeah.
So I shot the movie. 2 days after we shot it, this man disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have people in the medical examiner's office tracking him down. He disappeared like a vapor.
Like he was
Like he
an
was
angel.
An angel. Well,
Like he didn't even exist.
And I did searches on him.
It's crazy.
I paid a private eye to
Yes.
look into the family.
Yes.
Nothing. So I held the movie off for a couple of years. Then I released it, and then all of a sudden it started winning awards and getting nominated for stuff.
Yeah.
And people were kind of, the Long Island Film Festival wouldn't let me in because of Crack-Coon. But when they saw this movie, they were like, "Whoa, we'll let you in." Now I'm honorary. Now they show my films.
Yeah.
It's that movie.
Well, they do have a horror.
They do. Well,
they do have
Mandy
a horror,
and Lindsay, who are friends of
They
mine.
have a horror section that they show just horror blocks.
But they thought that my horror films were too over the top for
Okay.
them. But now Mandy and Lindsay are working.
Yes,
And Mandy and
yeah,
Lindsay
yeah.
are really good friends of mine. They're
Yeah,
filmmakers.
they're great.
They're sick like I am. So yeah. So
Oh my gosh. All right, so now we're going to talk about your latest and your greatest. But before we do, I do want to bring up that Jerry has pointed out to me that City Island, okay, hasn't had a theater there in over 40 years.
Yeah.
Okay? And so you said you wanted to change that.
there was only
And you did.
I built a theater in the Bronx called Cinema on the Sound. There were only 3 movie theaters in the Bronx at this time. I'm one of them. Yeah,
But the only one on City Island.
only one on City
Which means
Island.
if you live on City Island and you want to go to a theater, you
just
have
walk.
to
You have to go
off
off
of
City Island. We had a lot of people off City Island that come here because of the movies I show, because we do independent films.
Right.
And anybody out there who's a filmmaker wants your movie shown, you just go Cinema on the Sound on Instagram and get in touch with me.
And he will show you film.
I'm a filmmaker and I like showing independent films. I like pushing independent filmmakers because you know how it goes. A great film goes to a film fest, doesn't get picked up, it disappears.
Right.
So my mission statement was to take these films that people really don't see and introduce them to a whole new audience.
Right.
And it's been a success. It's 2.5 years now.
And okay, so you've been, since 2013, you've been the CEO for Fiona Studios.
Yeah.
And for over 20 years, you have your Amok Duck Films.
Amok Duck Films,
okay, which is also a film and television production
Film and
company.
television production company.
But like I said, now he has this theater on City Island, which is beautiful, Cinema on the Sound. You could go to Instagram, it's there. And then the Bronx, again, is the only borough that does not have a major film production studio.
And we were in the middle of building 2 of them. And,
Yes, you were.
And I'm not going to talk about...
We can't talk about that too much. We can't get into details. It's top secret.
Top secret, yeah.
But in the meantime, there have been many, many movies filmed on City Island.
A lot of movies. A lot of special victims units,
Yes,
too. Yeah.
yeah.
We see them. And there's a lot of filmmakers on City Island.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that work in the film industry. I met my partner right now, who I'm working on projects with, Jason Booth. He did The Deuce, Boardwalk Empire, Spider-Man, all this stuff. Now he's working with me. And I met him on City Island.
Yes.
And I knew who he was. He knew who I was. And then we're
Right.
like, oh,
And-
you're
and-
Jerry, you're Jason. Oh,
And
let's be
how
friends.
it happens.
Let's be friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's really,
And
really
he was
cool.
working, you met him, he was working
I did.
as an
I
AD
met
on
him.
my film.
Yes. All right, so we're going to talk about his latest film. It's called Joey, and we do have a poster. There it is. And Jerry and I always wanted to work together. He's like, I want to put you in something. I want to put you in something. So he called me up, and he goes, I want you in my film. There I am. A picture. I play a woman named Stormy. Oh, that's the tame version. I cropped it a little bit.
She goes like this. She goes, what's the character? I go, well, she's basically ran one of my grandfather's whorehouses, and he gave her an auto dealership. So she goes, should I show my assets? I go, you mean, yes. And she had every guy on the...
I had pictured her two different ways. You know what I mean? I pictured her
Like a
kind of
grease monkey? Like a grease
kind of like
monkey?
with her hair up and a pencil sticking out of her hair, and
They don't
you know,
work.
and in that, or then I really pictured her how she really would.
In that business, they don't work.
Yeah,
really.
no, I know. But it was great. We filmed it, and it went really, really well, and I had a great time doing it.
Based on a true story?
It's
Based on something that happened to me when I was 18 years old?
Yeah. So I don't know how much you want to spill, but I know there's a funny story about Lou Monte.
Lou Monte.
Lou Monte.
If you don't know who Lou Monte is, you didn't grow up in Italian in the 60s and 70s. Lou Monte did the great song Peppino the Italian Mouse.
Right.
Which as a kid, I love that song. And I used to
Yeah.
listen to that record. I used to go to my grandparents' house and listen to it over and over and over again. Now, my grandfather was a Shylock, and that's what this movie is about. It was about on my 18th birthday when he wanted me to take over his business. He wanted me to be a loan shark, and, you know, it's a pretty interesting story. But the Lou Monte thing is really funny because I love Lou Monte, and then one day my grandfather comes to me and says, guess what? I go, what? He goes, Lou Monte's coming to sing at my 50th wedding anniversary party. I'm like, what? He goes, Lou Monte's coming and you're going to meet him and he knows that you like him and Peppino the... And I'm like, Gramps, I mean, is this a joke? He
Like,
goes,
how
"No."
did it happen?
Yeah, like, you know, whatever. So the night of the party, of course, I'm not thinking about my grandmother, my grandfather, or the 300
Just
people that were
Lou.
there. I want to meet Lou Monte. So all of a sudden, 2 hours into the maitre d' goes, everybody sit down, and he gets up, he goes, we have a special guest for Francis and Al, Mr. Lou Monte. And Lou Monte comes out. Now, Lou Monte wasn't the Lou Monte I remember.
Right.
Lou Monte was hunched over.
He was old.
He was old. And he gets up to the microphone and he starts going, Peppino, Shula, Shula. And he starts singing Peppino the Italian Mouse. So I'm kind of like, oh, okay. You know, as
Not
a kid,
what I remembered,
as a kid, you
but,
don't know. So I
yeah.
go to my father and I go, how did Grandpa get Lou Monte to sing at the party? He goes, well, Lou Monte's a degenerate gambler and he owes your grandfather a lot of money. He played the gig to pay off his vig.
Right.
So I was like, whoa. And that was like the first time I realized kind of what my grandfather did for a living. And then this movie shows the day on my 18th birthday where he took me out and showed me what he actually did for a living.
Right.
So I got to go on his rounds where he collected all the money from people who owed him money.
So you really Rocco?
Yes. The character of Rocco in the movie is me. That was me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now I can put it all together.
They put it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't really explain stuff to people when I shoot the movie. They ask me some
No, I
questions.
didn't really. I didn't. He just said to me, "You're an ex-prostitute who worked for my grandfather, and now you have a legit business." And
Well,
your grandfather lent her money, right? She, you know, business wasn't doing so great, and he helped her out, and he was coming to collect, and she didn't have it because business wasn't great. And
he's threatening her, and
you
he's
know,
threatening to
he's
beat up.
threatening me. How horrible!
He's threatening to beat up you. Well, the
threatening me.
funny story about this was when I first dropped out of school and I had to go down to Florida to hide from my father. And when I came back, I got a job at Caldors just before I went back to school.
Right.
And I was working at Caldors, and there was a girl she was cute, and I would hang out with her and everything. And one day she goes, "Why don't you talk to your grandfather?" So I go, "How do you know my grandfather?" She goes, "I work for him."
Oh.
She's a prostitute. I could have got it for free, but whatever. But yeah, so it's kind of like these are the kind of things that families don't really talk about, right?
Yes.
And when you're Italian, they tell
Right.
you start the zit when you start asking
Right,
questions.
because I know as a kid I couldn't ask any kind of questions.
No,
about
I always
my
asked
family.
questions, and then I would hear things. And then on my 18th birthday, my grandfather actually took me out and told me what he did for a living.
Right.
And said, "I want you to take this." So he basically took me on a tour of the day, which is what the film is about.
Right.
And the last scene, he wants to show me how to mess with, how to deal with somebody who
Welchers.
Welchers. And it was funny because Jason kept going, he's Irish. It's Welchers, not Welchers. Welchers is grape juice. And I'm going, these guys are from the Bronx, they're gangsters. You're not going to correct them on Welchers grape, Welcher,
It's
Welcher
so
this.
funny.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It was I had a blast. I had a good time.
I've done a couple of movies where I've taken personal experiences and put them out there. This one is really.
That's why I want to talk, because I've got a couple we can work on together. Let me tell you. I mean, make a couple of heads spin, but who cares?
Yeah, who cares? That's what you're supposed to do.
That's exactly it. You know, I guess you're supposed to make people uncomfortable watch something that is so close to reality, it hits home.
I've been watching all the Academy Award movies, which I usually don't do. But I watched The Holdovers, and I got to tell you, I would never watch that movie. That would be a movie like I'm going, blood-sucking freaks. Yeah, The Holdovers, no. Oh my God! I got to be honest with you. I love that movie. The script was so good. And the way they built up the characters.
Yeah.
Like you hate these people in the beginning of the movie. At the end of the movie, you love them.
Yeah.
That's the effect of a good writer and a good director. Like if you could grab somebody, like I've seen movies where I've fallen asleep and I'm like disinterested, but then you see a movie that grabs you, and it's usually because it hits something inside your core.
Right.
And that's what films do. And I always say, with all this streaming and stuff, movies are a communal experience. Seen in a theater. We showed a Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder movie. We showed Hear No Evil, Speak No Evil, right?
Yeah.
People losing their minds, laughing. I go, but this is what it is. Laughter is infectious.
Yeah.
Horror is infectious.
Yes.
You see everybody jump at the same time. You know you did your job.
You're right.
So you're basically, a director is basically a puppet master working people's emotions. That's how I look at it.
Well, I have to do my job now, and I have to take my last break. So stay right there. More when we get back with Jerry Landi. Don't go away.
Wonder Woman was everything to little girls, especially that look like me. She stands for being a voice for people that need a voice. My organization renovates homes for people with disabilities. And when I come home, a self-care routine makes me feel my best. I'm very proud of the difference that we're making, and to see that impact in my community inspires me to work even harder for everyone around me.
Every day, millions of people go to work completely oblivious to their coworkers' double life. By night, they hit the stage, hoping to become the next comedy superstar.
Bringing laughter to the world is very important.
Hey everybody, it's Theresa from Tea Time. What's my show about? I interview people in the entertainment industry, producers, directors, actors, and guess what? My show is on every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on Channel 20 on Optimum TV. So tune in because it's fun, interesting, and exciting.
Doc, who's the best comedian you know?
Theresa Farrow.
And who's the best actress you know?
Theresa Farrow.
And who's the best cast member in Bad Boys?
Theresa Farrow.
Who's got the best radio?
Theresa Farrow.
Doc, who's your favorite Jimmy?
Theresa Farrow.
Who are you loving right now?
Theresa Farrow.
All right, Doc, I love you too, baby.
Love you as always.
Thank you.
That would be totally against what I.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Tea Time. I'm with my friend Jerry Landi. It is my Valentine's Day show, and he is a director, he's a writer, he's a producer. He also dabbles a little bit in the acting, but you also edit. You edit a lot of your own stuff.
I edit all my stuff.
Editing is so tedious, and as you know, you need a lot of patience.
And you see ghosts. Where things show up that aren't there and you got to walk away from it. Because I'm a guy who could edit for 3 days straight without sleeping.
Yeah.
I've done it.
Yeah.
And you start seeing ghosts and things that don't belong there. And I talk to my filmmaker friends. They go, you're seeing ghosts, walk away. You got to leave.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you see, what is that? That wasn't there like 100 times. All of a sudden it's there.
Right.
So it's kind of tedious. But it's my favorite part of the creative process.
You said that.
Because I get to control the universe and I could, take things out and I could build. That's why people see my films, because I don't discuss what's inside my head.
Right.
I had a couple of assistant directors that quit because I wouldn't share.
You have a very unique way of, this is the first, I know, we left it inside, it's okay. He's so funny. So let's tell you then the inside joke. What happened is that when I went to set, and I've worked on many sets, usually you slate the scene, okay? And that way you know what scene it is, who's in the scene, what order it's in, you know. Jerry doesn't slate. He's like, it's just like, there's not even an action. I didn't hear anything. He's like, all right, go. You ready? Go. Just start. And because he knows in his head what he's...
I edit in my head while I'm shooting.
Yeah, which is...
And then I go right home, put the footage in, and start editing it.
Right.
So
So it's because it's fresh in your head.
You know what my photography teacher said once? When I was in school, I would burn my my chemicals. I would burn them really hot, right? And then my developing time would go short. And everybody would yell at me. And my teacher told me, if it works, no, it doesn't make a difference how you got there. If the final product.
Right.
So I've taken that to heart.
Yeah.
And when producers come on the set, I have the slate. And I go, okay, and I have a guy do it. And then everybody on my set laughs because the minute they leave, I throw it in the garbage. And they call me Mr. No Slate. I've been called Mr. Slate, like from the Flintstones.
I just got to, because I said to him, you know, usually I take a picture of every slate I'm ever on. I always take a picture. And I'm like, I just remembered, I said, you didn't have one.
I have a very loose set. Like my sets are very loose.
It is.
Very
I've been
loose.
on some loose sets, but yours is just really.
And everybody's like,
and it's relaxed and it's fun and
it's supposed to be fun. It's like I've been on sets like, oh, yelling at people. Shut up. It's fun.
Right.
Filmmaking's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be a
Don't
test.
make it so uptight.
I'll go work 9 to 5 if I have to.
Just
Yeah.
All right, but I really want to talk. We have like another 4 minutes left about Cinema on the Sound. Again, this is the only theater on City Island in the Bronx.
And only 3 in the Bronx.
There's only 3 in the Bronx, and this is one of them on City Island. And I just want you to speak to. Now, again, and we'll give some shout-outs to Claudia Bonavita, Frank Mancuso, George Massimillo, George Buzzio. I reached out to everybody that I know who are independent filmmakers here on Long Island to contact you and to show their films at your theater because it's very important. You know, like you said, there are a lot of producers, directors, actors. There are a lot of people who live on City Island that people don't even know about.
People
and
that are in the
you
industry.
never know who's going to show up at your screening.
Well, that's how I got this gig for the TV show because one of them came to my movie. And I knew his father and I knew of him, but I didn't, you know. And he was like, yeah, I want you to write this TV series for him because of what he saw.
Right.
So it's a good meeting point. Listen, I'm a filmmaker. I go to film festivals. When I have films, I go to all the film festivals. I like meeting other filmmakers.
Yes.
So I bring their films back and they come and do it. I've met a lot of people. So my plea is that if you have a film out there and it's not getting the play and you want it, send it to me. You can go to Cinema on the Sound on Instagram and DM me and just give me your information. Thanks to Theresa, I've been connecting with a lot of filmmakers out here in Long Island. And I just saw, like I said, I just saw George Buzzio's film. He produced a beautiful film. And these are the gems. This is why I did this. My mission statement was get filmmakers together. And we have all filmmakers that come to see other films. And then they come and they get, I need help on this film. And we have like this whole group of filmmakers that, female filmmakers, male film, old, young.
Yes.
And we just want to create. And it's all about creating.
And just real quick, if you want to throw up Me and My Nuts. Me and My Nuts is a comedy. It's a pilot. I'm in it. I play the secretary, Wanda.
It's showing the 24th.
It's showing on the 24th at Cinema on the Sound. Put that on your calendars. And where can they? What's the website to get the tickets? It's tickets.
It's ticketleap.com.
Ticketleap.com.
And that night we're showing a movie called Gorgeous, which was shot by all out of work SAG people during the strike on City Island. It's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
So we're showing that night too.
Yeah,
it's
so
a City Island shot film. There's going to be 4 independent films, Bronx films, and then Be in My Nuts.
Yeah. So definitely get in touch with Jerry.
Please.
You can get in touch with him on Insta, right? It's Landi Jerry.
Yeah, and you go landijerry at yahoo.com. LANDIJERRY at Yahoo. Get in touch with me. Send me a phone number. Let's talk.
Yeah. If you have a film.
It's a cool space for.
It is. It's very intimate.
It's a 60 seat theater.
60 seats, and it's very intimate. It's really nice.
And we got a lounge with alcohol.
All right, we'll just throw that in. No, when you walk in, you've got that little counter. We have
a concession stand,
like
popcorn,
movie candy, and
popcorn
machine.
and in the back we have a lounge. At the end, filmmakers sit and talk in this really cool lounge, and we discuss.
And
film.
do you do a little Q&A after?
Always Q&A with the directors.
Always Q&A after, which is great. So again, I I love you. I do.
Yeah, I love you too.
You know I do.
That's it.
You gotta tell people you love them, because life is very short.
And you gotta tell people you hate them when you hate them too, because life is also short.
No, you just don't talk to them anymore.
I told them I hate them. I
No,
did.
I don't do that. No, but I want to thank you for coming in.
Thank you. This
You know,
was fun.
my door's always open.
I may come back.
I am.
It's
You
lo-
definitely
It
could
took me
come
2
back.
years to come here from the Bronx today. It was a long trip, but it's fine. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
But again, I haven't had you on the show in a long time, and I'm glad I had you back. I'm just thrilled and blessed that I got to work with you, and I am looking.
And
forward.
you'll work with me in the future.
I am.
I
I'm
introduced you to a big TV producer to see you work, so hopefully this will pay.
You saw my work. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, I told you, my daughter wants me on Law and Order. She says, Ma, I don't care what you
He's gonna
do.
be
I want to
working
see
on
you on
that,
Law and
yeah.
Order. So who knows?
We know Dick Wolf.
We got some connects. I don't know. We'll see. We'll make it happen. Put it out into the universe. But thank you, my friends. I
Thank you.
appreciate this. Thank you, everyone, for watching Tea Time. Remember, it's Valentine's Day, people, on Wednesday. Tell everyone you love them, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.